Alright YouTube, want to see all the cool stuff I picked up this year at Anime Weekend Atlanta weekend? Stay tuned! Alright YouTube, as you no doubt know, it has been a year since the last time I had gone to Anime Week in Atlanta, which means it's the time of year again where I go to Anime Week in Atlanta again. What is Anime Week in Atlanta? Well, it is a convention, an anime convention, held at the Renaissance Waverly Hotel in Cobb Galleria Center in Cobb County, or, well, I guess it's technically still in Atlanta. So it's down in Atlanta, Georgia. And this convention is, of course, an anime convention. But the reason why I go is because they have a thing called the Video Art Track. It is a giant AMV room where they play nothing but anime music videos and, well, cosplay music videos, and, well, just music videos all day long throughout the whole entire weekend. And it's gained the reputation as being the premier AMV convention to go to. I mean, it is the con where pretty much everybody goes to, mainly because it's not Otakon. I think that's been pretty much the moniker, is because it's not Otakon, that's the convention that everybody goes to. Now granted, yeah, a lot of AMV creators go to Otakon and Anime Expo and whatnot, but AWA seems to be the con that everybody kind of congregates to. You got the East Coast crowd, you got the Southern crowd, you got the Texas crowd, you got the West Coast crowd, you got the Midwest crowd. They all kind of converge in Atlanta for a weekend, and we all have a grand old fun time. Now, part of what I do when I'm down there is, of course, I eat. Because, well, food is really, really awesome, and it's, always the best part of going on vacation is eating all the different cool foods that you don't get too often from where you normally are. However, the other thing I do when I'm down there is I buy anime. Like I said, these shelves back here, they do not fill themselves. And so, I have to go out and actually buy the stuff that's on here and whatnot. So, it's time for another pickup video. I went to Anime Week in Atlanta and I bought a bunch of cool stuff this past year. Now, if you remember from last year's AWA pickups video, you'll note that one of the other things I do is I stop by my parents on the way home. It's a quick, cheap place to stay overnight, and while we're there, we also hit a couple of the resale shops. There's a couple there right by where they live and whatnot that we go to called the Book and Music Exchange, and then on the way up, we usually hit Terre Haute, Indiana, and they have a place called Disc Replay. You might remember that name from my previous haul videos where there's a disc replay locally here that I've picked up a lot of, fun, interesting stuff here from. And while I was there, we stopped in and I found a few things there too. So I got some stuff to show you guys that I've picked up, and can't wait to show you what new fun things is happening on these shelves as well as my video game shelves and, well, pretty much all of my collection of shelves and whatnot. So let's get started. Now, first thing that I'm going to talk to you about today is a video game. One of the cool things about going to this con is they have a few different video game retailers that, or resellers basically, retro games and whatnot, that don't show up to many of the conventions up here in the Midwest, so I get to see things that I don't see everywhere else. And one of the games that I've been trying to pick up ever since I sold all of my Sega CD collection and my Sega and Genesis collection, Sega CD and Genesis and all of that stuff, since I sold it all in order to have the money to pick up a PlayStation, which, granted, when I picked that up, it's not the PlayStation 1, the PSX, the original, PlayStation. That was about a year before the PS2 came out, and lo and behold, the PS2 can play PS1 games. But either way, had a chance to pick up a PSX and whatnot using that money, and granted, I don't regret having done that. I just regret having sold this one particular game, and that is Sonic CD. I am a Sonic the Hedgehog fan through and through. In fact, it was the first, Sonic the Hedgehog was the first fandom that I joined when I joined the ranks of the internet masses. I used to hang out in the Sonic chat room on, I think it was EFNet, a place where a lot of Sonic fans hung out. And one of the cool things well, you weren't allowed to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog inside the chat room. We talked about all this other stuff instead. Anime, things like that and whatnot. But either way, found Sonic CD and I had to pick it up. Got it for a pretty good price, only $20. And you know what? $20 to rekindle my nostalgia is worthwhile to me. I mean, I'm willing to pay $100 for Lunar 1 and Lunar 2 on the Sega CD. I've never owned those to begin with, but this one I did own. And while I do have the Mega CD version of Sonic CD, which has the Japanese soundtrack on it, I also loved the US soundtrack as well. They were both great soundtracks. And so one of the things I used to do when I was younger is I would take Sonic CD with me on trips, because one of the cool things with Sonic CD is that it had CD music on the CD. So the first track was the game, and all the other tracks were actual songs that were played, that were used in the game. They used CD quality sound in the game, and I got a chance to actually listen to that music. I would take it with me on trips and I would listen to the soundtrack that way. So it's great to finally have this back in my collection, a chance to play it when I get around to actually getting a Sega CD or a CDX and whatnot. But yeah, I now have this, and I'm going to enjoy some Sonic music later on. Okay, on to the anime, one of the things that you've been wanting to see. And we'll start with what I picked up on Thursday night. Now, one of the things that they have in Anime Week in Atlanta that a lot of conventions that I go to don't have is this thing called the Super Fun Sale, the Super Happy Fun Sale. It is basically a garage sale, where basically they give away tables to people who want to sell whatever they want at the con for 3 hours, yes, from 7 to 10 p.m. on Thursday. You go in and you get to basically buy stuff from people who want to get rid of it. They don't want it anymore. And so you can get a lot of things really, really cheap, which is kind of cool. Just to give you something, what I bought that night, if I had purchased this when it originally came out, when all these pieces originally came out, it would have been $200 worth of anime, and I picked it up for under $20. So it tells you a little something about the deals that I got. Now, granted, yeah, some of this stuff, some people probably wouldn't even have paid what I paid for them, but you know what? I had to have all of these because it's stuff I don't have, it's stuff I want on my collection. So hey, either way. So let's start off with this lovely stack of anime that I've got here. And the first up that I picked up was X-Driver the movie. Now, I have X-Driver, the TV series, on my shelf, but I don't have the movie. And oddly enough, the soundtrack for the movie is one of my favorite anime soundtracks. It's got some really good songs on it. However, from what I remember, the movie itself, the storyline, it wasn't all that great. But I didn't have the movie in my collection, so yeah, I had to pick it up so I'd actually have something to show. I mean, one of the cool things, and the reasons why I like this show, is that this is another show that had the character designs and whatnot by Kosuke Fujishima, who happens to be the creator of Oh My Goddess. I love Oh My Goddess. He also does the character designs for Sakura Wars and whatnot, and a few other things. And so this is one of those that I wanted to pick up, I wanted to own, and so now I do. Yeah, I mean, it's got the movie, which is only 64 minutes long. It's only an hour-long movie, but either way. And then it's got the Nina and Ray Danger Zone 25-minute featurette on it. So yeah, either way, this is kind of cool, and it's interesting to see a future where nobody drives their cars; it's all automated. And what winds up actually happening is people have to know how to drive cars in order to stop the automated cars that go crazy. That's kind of the basic premise behind X-Driver, is this elite group of people who actually learned how to drive, can drift, and all that good stuff, know how to drive a regular car that doesn't drive themselves, and they go around and they stop these cars that go on runaway when the electronics go haywire. So yeah, that's X Driver. All right, next up is the Haunted Junction. Haunted Junction. I don't know what else to really say about this show. This is one of those that I don't know much about, but I've seen a lot of AMVs that use Haunted Junction, and it looked really cool and interesting. Kind of looks very similar to Battle Sweeper Mikami or whatnot. Or Ghost Sweeper Mikami, sorry, not Battle Sweeper. Ghost Sweeper Mikami and whatnot, and it's, it's about a group of people who are exorcists, and kind of a little bit of the blurb back here is: you think your high school has problems? Haruto, Kasumi, and Mitsumi are 3 rather gifted students. They form a holy student council, and their job is to exercise supernatural forces. Of course, the first job is to gather together all the spirits of their school, Saito High, and that's just the beginning. So yeah, Haunted Junction. Next up is something that it's a series that I've actually wanted to own for a very long time. Back in the day when I used to, watch anime VHS tapes and whatnot, I'd watch shows from ADV, and one of the previews that they would show is for the Dirty Pair Flash. The song, the music that they used, everything looked really cool, and I've seen a lot of AMVs that use Dirty Pair Flash, and I've always wanted to watch it. It's not a remake, it's a sequel to the original Dirty Pair. It's kind of like later on throughout the years, these 2 new girls take on the roles of the Dirty Pair, basically. And one of the things that they always talked about is that they could never fit into their battle suits, the original Dirty Pair battle suits, which leads you to believe that they're smaller than the original Dirty Pair. But that's just kind of how it winds up going. A little bit of a blurb here. Tired of the same old action flicks? Tired of seeing multi-car pileups, explosions that level entire cities, and high-power shootouts? Of course not. Well, never fear. Kei and Yuri are here in their very own perfect collection. Yes, the lovely angels are on the job, and that means the entire universe is at risk. Kind of one of the premises behind the Dirty Pair is that these 2 girls are like mercenaries, bounty hunters, or whatever, and they go on missions, and they wind up destroying things in the process, and that's the reason why they're called the Dirty Pair. In fact, if I remember right, there's a whole episode where they go around and they try to find a credit card, and in the process of trying to find a credit card, they blow up a whole entire city, basically, just to find a credit card. So it gives you a little bit of an insight about what the story's like. Anyway, happy to have it, and one of these days I'll get around to actually watching it. Now, next up is something you probably, if you're watching, you probably haven't seen before, or at the very least you know very little about. At least I'm guessing, because I'm assuming the age demographic that watches me is quite a bit younger than I am, and the standard, crowd that goes to anime cons don't necessarily remember a thing called VHS. Now, granted, yeah, I showed you an even older format of video called Laserdisc. That's what I've got on my shelves over here, Laserdiscs. But I also have VHS, and one of the things that I saw is that people were trying to get rid of their anime VHS, and were selling it really cheap. This whole set here, $3. 3 VHS tapes, $3 total. $1 a piece. And some people would say I probably should have paid $1 for all 3. But you know what? Despite the fact of what it is, this is the original all-purpose Catgirl, cultural Catgirl Nuku Nuku. 3 VHSs of it, each 60 minutes long. These came out back in 1992. I have friends that are younger than these VHS tapes are old, so that tells you something. It's just nice to actually own these. I showed you before, I picked up some all-purpose cultural Catgirl Nuku Nuku before on DVD, and now I own the original 80 Vision clamshell boxes. I mean, these things are kind of cool. Let me open one up here for you. Comes in a special white VHS cassette here, with blue letters written on it, and it's got these slats. This is not a standard looking VHS, which is kind of cool. It comes in a clamshell box, which is a little bit nice. It takes up a bit more room than a standard VHS sleeve winds up doing, but that's okay. And yeah, it's cool to finally have it. I mean, this one here is, well, let's see here. We've got Volume 1, which is 9 lives, 900 horsepower. If you want a perfect bodyguard, sometimes you just have to build one. If I remember right, kind of the storyline is this boy, his dad basically builds a bodyguard for him, an android girl who has the personality of like this little kitten or something like that. It's been a long time since I've seen this, so I don't remember a whole lot about it. But either way, Volume 1, Volume 2. That android cat is back, and this time she's not kidding around. Oh, the puns. Oh, the puns. Gotta love the 90s. She's the cat in Catastrophe. I think the beach episode is in this, or pool episode or something. And, of course, Volume 3. The sky is not the limit for this cat. The subtitle is The Crazed Cataclysmic Climax. So, yeah, puns are very strong with this one. But yeah, I mean, that's what I picked up at the garage sale. It's, not much. It's only a little bit here. But, I mean, yeah, if you think about it, this is about $200 worth of stuff. This right here. I mean, each one of these VHS tapes were sold for $30 a piece back in the day. Yeah, exactly. $30 a piece for one VHS that had 2 episodes on it, 60 minutes. And if you were into hentai back in these VHS days, you're lucky if you got one 30-minute episode for $30. So yeah, that's kind of how expensive it was to collect anime back in the days. And unlike your DVDs where you can watch subtitled, get the Japanese audio, or you can watch dubbed, these is dubbed or subbed only. If you wanted both dub and sub, you had to buy it twice, $30 a piece each time, if you wanted to watch both subbed and dubbed. That's just the way it was. And then, of course, each of these were about, $30 a piece, assuming. I think these sets probably sold for a little bit more, maybe $40 a piece when they first came out. But I mean, if you think about it, this right here, just these 3 VHS tapes, $90 right here. And I got it for 3. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a pretty good deal. Okay, moving on. You've been hearing me talk all this time. It's time to move on. Let's continue on with what I actually bought from dealers at the convention. Now, I mean, to be honest, most dealers at anime cons don't sell things for a price that I find really worthwhile, especially when it comes to DVDs, Blu-rays. Usually you can go online to like rightstuff.com and you can buy stuff for pretty cheap. So going to a con, it's hard to really justify buying a lot of things half the time, at least for me anymore, and the type of stuff that I like to buy. And, really, I'm more about collecting older, obscure series than I am about collecting the new stuff. So there's usually not a whole lot, but there are a few dealers that I generally tend to go to. I go to this guy who sells cheap anime. He usually has some older shows and whatnot for sale, and I picked up one thing from him because pretty much everything else he had, I've already bought from him. And that is the Machine Robo set. It's a set of 3 DVDs. Each one looks like this came from Software Sculptures. They're about there's 5 episodes per disc, 125 minutes on each disc, and 3 discs. A total of 15 episodes. And so we got part one, and apparently this is from the same guy, the director of Blue Seed, and it's called Machine Robo Revenge of Kronos, is what the storyline is. And this first one here, this first is Battle of the Robot Prince. So, you know, Disc 1, Battle of the Robot Prince, Episode 1 through 5. We got Disc 2, Intergalactic Mecha Action from Disc 2. You see that here, so that's 6 through 10. And then, Where There Is Evil, There Is Also Justice. Disc 3, which is episodes 11 through 15. So yeah, I don't really know much about this show. It just looked interesting to me. I mean, from what I could see the front of Disc 1 and the back of Disc 3. So that's kind of what I had to see. I mean, the subtitles here, You'll Watch It and Love It from AnimeJump.com. War of the Robots. The planet Kronos is a world of super robotic life forms. So yeah, it's kind of seems similar to, what's that show? Transformers, I guess, in a way. When did this come out? This came out in 1986. So, yeah. Found myself an oldie. One of these days I'll sit down, watch it, and tell you what I think about it. Another thing I picked up here is, well, this is something that I've never heard of before, but I decided to pick it up, and it's called Psybuster. This is the second disc, I assume, since it has episodes 6 through 10. And the subtitle on this disc is The Battle in the Sea of Trees. Psybuster and its pilot Misaki are finally captured by Sapphine's dirty tricks. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about this show. You know, it's 5 episodes, and looks like this came out in 1999. So let's stop with some of the whatnot. But here you go, Psybuster. Looks like an old show, and yeah, I figured, hey, why not? I'd pick it up and give it a try. At the very least, it's source potential for some weird AMV that I may or may not make sometime in the future. After all, that's half of the reason why I originally bought a lot of this stuff, and now I just like having it back here and the potential for watching it. Alright, next up on the list is New Dominion Tank Police. This is one of those classics. Dominion Tank Police is one of those old school anime classics. This is a re-release of it. This is picked up by Made in Japan, and you know it's based on the Masamune Shiro comic. Want the biggest bang for your buck in law enforcement? Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. The complete 6-episode OVA. And yeah, it's one of those old school series, that OVA series that was released back in the day. I believe manga may have originally had this, and now it's picked up by Made in Japan. I think I picked this up at the Section 23 shop there, which you may know Section 23 is being pretty much the place to go, the place that picks up all the anime that Right Stuff, the Right Stuff picks up. So yeah, I saw it there, and I was like, you know what? I had to buy it. I had to own it. Wish I had a date on here somewhere. All I see is 2013, which is when this specific version was released, but it doesn't have any of the original dates on this, which kind of makes me a little sad. But I love Masamune Shiro's work. I love his manga stuff. I love the drawings or whatnot. I try and get a Shiro calendar every year. I import it from Japan because I just love his artwork. The way he draws women is really beautiful and whatnot, and it's something I've always had really good appreciation for. So it's great to finally have a copy of Dominion Tank Police in my possession, because it is a really good show, and I highly recommend checking it out if you have the chance. And believe me, the DVDs are out. It's easy to find, so go ahead and take a look. Now, last up on what I picked up while at the convention is a series that I had just recently found out about while browsing my my Facebook feed. Somebody had pointed it out that that Discotheque Media had picked up this show, and it is supposedly the very first OVA series ever made, and it is called Dallos. Kind of a interesting title or whatnot. It's Mamoru Oshii's Dallos. This is the complete OVA series, and there's a rebellion brewing on the dark side of the moon. I don't know a whole lot about this show. All I know is it's 120 minutes long, and this is supposedly the very first OVA ever produced. So it's interesting to finally get a copy of it. I had to own this, considering everything that I know about it. 1983 to it's got the pilot film on it. It's got Remembering Dallos 1983 to 2003. Those are the extras included on here. Looks like there's a copyright of 1990 Bandai Visual. This was well, just to read a little bit about it. Released in 4 parts starting in December of 1983, Dallos is an early directorial effort by the great Mamoru Oshii, who produced Ghost in the Shell and Patlabor, which made history as the first anime OVA original video animation ever created. So yeah, that's what this is, Dallos. I will be giving this a watch very, very soon here in order to, well, see what it's all about. And honestly, I really hope that it's really good, because this just looks very interesting. And now I own it, so I now own the very first OVA ever produced. So hey, awesome, sweet. It's perfect to fit in my collection of old shit. Okay, so that was what I bought at the convention. And what I have left here is what I picked up on my way home from the convention. Now, I haven't stopped at my local disc replay yet. I probably will be making a trip there later this month, so there'll probably be another one of these videos coming around very soon here, probably next month after YomaCon. But before that, might as well show you what I've picked up on my way home. So, the last few times I've been to the Book and Music Exchange by my parents, I have seen this sitting on shelves, and I couldn't bring myself to buy it due to the price. It was just a little too rich for my blood, and I could pick up 2 or 3 other things for the same price versus just this. And I figured, you know, this has been sitting there for a while. It's probably going to sit there for a while. And lo and behold, it had. And I knew that when I was, last time in the summer, that when I came back after Anime Week in Atlanta, if this was still there, I would buy it. And it was, so I did. So now I have the Angelic Layer Collection. This is the full 5-disc small tiny disc clamshell version of Angelic Layer, Battle Doll Angelic Layer, produced by AWA. And I now own a copy. It was kind of funny, talking to the guy at the counter. Apparently they have had this for a few years and been trying to get rid of it, and no one would seem to buy it. Supposedly, they had shipped it off to a couple of their different stores a few times in the area, and still nobody had purchased it. So it had finally gotten back to the original store, and that's when I saw it, and that's when I bought it. So yeah, they were very happy to get this off their shelves. I wish, if they were so happy to get it off the shelves, I wish they had kind of discounted it a little bit. But either way, for $40 for a full 26 episode series, I'd say that's worth it in my book. So yeah, this is a very interesting show. I have not really watched it, but I've seen a lot of AMVs about it, and a lot of people I know recommend this as a really good show. So it's something I've been wanting to pick up, and now I own it. Angelic Layer. Next up, from the Book and Music Exchange is another disc that I had seen there when I was there over the summer, and said, hey, I'll pick this up if it's still there again. And that is the Heroic Legend of Arslan. I actually saw copies of this wrapped in cellophane new at the convention. The big difference is I got this for $10 at the resale shop, and what they were selling it for there at the convention was $30. So I saved $20 by getting this. Now, granted, it's got a little bit of, it's got some dings and some marks on it, and looks like somebody had taken a, taken a knife or something to the UPC code. So this was probably bought from a liquidation sale from the manufacturer. I know when I purchase things direct from ADV, when they have their big sales, they do something like that to the UPC codes as well. But either way, I finally own it. This is a US Manga Core show. Comes in this interesting paper cardboard design. It's got 2 discs and whatnot, and yeah, it's got some really interesting artwork sitting here, and I'll show you some of it if I take the discs out, and both the discs look really good, and get some pretty boys here sitting on those discs, and at least I'm pretty sure they're both boys. And whatnot. It's got cool artwork here and whatnot. And this is what I really love about buying DVDs and whatnot, is I love box art. So it's really cool to see this. Apparently this is a show from the producer of Ninja Scroll. AnimeOnDVD.com gave it rating A. It has 4 episodes and Age of Heroes. So I mean, thinking about it, it's 5 episodes, and they're wanting to sell it for $30. It's a little odd in my book, based off of that. I mean, though it is 240 minutes of total content, so that's kind of cool. In an age of swords and sorcery, betrayed from within and overwhelmed by dark magic, the kingdom of Pars has fallen, overrun by the fanatical warriors of Rukitania. Yeah, looks like your standard swords and sorcery type show. So there we go. That is the Heroic Legend of Arslan. Now, once we left the area around my parents, we traveled up, and before we hopped on Interstate 71 in order to head towards Indianapolis and make our way back home, we stopped in at the disc replay there in Terre Haute off of US 41. And while I was there, I picked up a couple of things. I picked up an anime, and I picked up some RPGs that I've been looking for. You know, I love RPGs. It's practically the only video game type that I play is an RPG. So it's nice to finally own a couple of these. Been looking for them for a while. But we'll start off with the anime, and the first one that I picked up, I know absolutely nothing about, but the cover art intrigued me, so that's why I picked it up, and that is Ariel. All-around intercept and escort lady. Cute girls, mecha armor, and space invaders. What else do you need to know? Those are the taglines on the front cover here, and on the back, Earth is under alien invasion. 2.5 hours of mecha action. You know this is going to be a very interesting show when they advertise how many hours of mecha action is involved in the disc. 2.5 hours of mecha action and an unspecified amount of non-mecha action. Yeah, it's 150 minutes long. This came out, another show by US Manga Core, and it is suggested for 3 and up. So yeah, this is something. When did this originally come out here? What can I see here? 1989. This is a 1989 anime, and was brought over here in the US in 1996 by US Manga Core. And there we go. It's got a nice little seal here. Authentic anime. Authentic anime seal. I've actually not seen that on a disc before. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about this. It is a disc. It is a mecha disc, and yeah, never heard of it, but the box art here looked intriguing. It looked old, so I had to buy it. I'm a simple man. I like the way things look. Okay, on to the next set of stuff that I had picked up, and that is 2 discs from the Dot Hack series. Dot Hack Part 2 in Mutation and Dot Hack Part 3 Outbreak. What was really cool, that I thought was really awesome, is that both of these came intact with the anime DVDs that came with them. This video game series, each one came with an OVA on a DVD on each of the discs, in each of the volumes. So you got the actual video game disc, and then you've got Dot Hack Illuminality, the OVA DVD as well. So each one came with that, and so you can see here is disc again on this one and the anime. The only thing that's a little sad here is this part 2 is apparently missing the booklet, but to be honest, I honestly don't care too much about whether or not I have the booklet. I more care about the game itself and whether or not it plays. And the box art. I've got to have the box. I got to have the original artwork, and then have to have the game. And honestly, when I bought these, I didn't care too much whether or not the actual anime DVD was in it. But I said, "Hey, did it come with the anime disc?" And the guy's like, "Oh, is that what those were? Cool." And I was like, "Awesome!" So both of these came with it, which is really cool. So now I own the first 3 volumes, and I'm still on the lookout for volume 4. When these originally came out, I didn't have a whole lot of funds in order to buy them as they were coming out. So I got the first one and played through it a little bit back when I was in college, but I never had a chance to pick up the other volumes and whatnot. So now it's kind of cool to finally get a hold of these, own them, and now I can actually sit down and play them. Hopefully I can find volume 4 soon here, or at least find volume 4 before I actually finish playing them. Who knows, maybe I'll get around to actually doing some type of a Let's Play, and Let's Play all the way through the Dot Hack series here. That was really cool to actually see that there. Last time I was down there, I didn't see these, so I think these came in recently, and it was kind of cool to actually see them. And now I own them and can actually play them, and that's pretty cool. That's my haul from Anime Week in Atlanta. A little bit less than I was originally planning on picking up, but in the end I wound up going to the con with a little bit less money than I was originally planning on having at the con, and let me tell you, food is expensive. I picked up a bunch of stuff, and despite the small size, I think I picked up a lot of really good stuff, and I'm looking forward to actually putting these up on my shelf and eventually watching them and playing them. Either way, though, that's my haul. This is Nate. Thank you for watching, and I hope to have another one of these videos here soon. Either way, though, this is Nate, signing off.